All right, y'all. Shalom. This is Hayel. This is another lesson. This is going to just be an hour block. I might do another lesson tonight. Hit y'all with a little 2 hour feature. But I'm just going to go ahead and do some lessons from my old repository of lessons that I wrote up because I gave away my old sword. And with that, a lot of the scriptures that I had highlighted disappeared along with it. So, what better way to fill in my sword? Any blanks that might still be there than by doing a lesson covering that same material, right? But call halal Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and tonight's lesson is going to be about salvation is for Israel, right? One of the things that if you go out on the highways and byways and do the work, or if you're just a person in the truth in general, speaking to somebody who's a Christian or of another denomination, um, or any religion for that in that fact, you'll always find more often than not that they believe redemption is possible for everybody, that everybody can be saved, and that's not according to the Bible. That's not even according to Islam, because one of the five pillars of Islam is to reference the Torah, right? So, so some of the beliefs in the Quran, or one of the beliefs in particular, is the um, that the Most High revealed information or prophecy to prophets, which are in the Bible, like Moses, Yahushai, David, as it says all here, right? So the Bible is canon to Islam, right? So when it comes to everybody being saved, no matter what angle you come at the Bible from, everybody can't be saved, right? And one of the things that we have to acknowledge before we even really tackle that question is, what do the other nations need to be saved from? All right. But before we go too deep into it, let's go ahead and grab a scripture. We're going to go ahead and hit up Joelle 2 and 32. So let's go ahead and get it. Now, I understand I got a computer in front of me, but I prefer reading from a sword just to make sure it's filled in. And I'll bring it up on my screen as well. So y'all, while I grab this. And 32%. Yeah. So let me pull it up. All right. This is Joel 2 and 32. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance. And the Most High hath said, in the remnant whom the Most High shall call. So here we have a profession in the book of Joel, or Joel, that Zion is going to be saved, right? Those who call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Now, we see that mirrored in the New Testament as well. So we have Acts 2 and 22. Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Yahushai of Nazareth, a man approved of God, among you by miracles and wonders and signs, which God did by him in the midst of you, as ye yourselves also know. So, actually, that's not what I wanted. Hold on one second. Oh, sorry, Salakia. It's the book before it. My bad, y'all. So, verse 21. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Now, usually when a heathen will come at you, they'll bring out 2 and 21, and then they'll stop right there and they won't finish it off. That's why it's very important to have your own sword, right? To have a Bible that you thoroughly read and you highlight, right? Because sometimes people who are dishonest with the Bible, they'll try to sneak little things like that by you. But if you just read on in 22, it states directly who's receiving salvation. Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Right? So now we have another entry in the Bible just highlighting who salvation is for, who Yahushua came to redeem and who to save. And it's Israel. Right? So we're going to go ahead and go to another verse, because not only do we need to be saved from the heathen, and I'm sorry if I hold my Bible in front of my laptop is like right in front of me. So I'm gonna try to keep everything, nice and situated, so I'm not blocking the camera too often. But throughout the Bible, what you see is you see a repetitious process through which the Bible is constantly telling Israel that we're the Most High's chosen. Not only are we His chosen, but we are the bride for His Son, Yahushua, and He's going to come back and redeem His people. Because if you look at our current state and status in America, it is not pleasant and it is not a good one. Getting killed by police, getting brutalized in the streets, and not to mention our people just generally being broken in every which in way and fashion. And actually, you know what? While we're here, we're going to go ahead and grab this. I'm not going to pull it up. This is Joelle 2 and 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. So here we are again, another profession from the Most High God saying that we are His people, and He doesn't know anybody else. Right? One of the saddest things that you'll encounter when you start doing the work on the streets is that our people are quick to try to join hands with the heathen and say that they're going to be redeemed and that they can be saved. Now, the question that I've yet to have anybody who wants to lock arms with the heathen, I've yet to have them answer is, if they're supposed to be saved, who's going to build up the kingdom of heaven? Right? How are all these imbalances going to be paid back? It's so many different questions you can ask in regard to the doctrine that everyone can be saved. It invalidates so many portions of the Bible. Not to mention, if they can be saved, why aren't they going to be punished? We're going to go to Amos 3 and 2. Amos 3 and 2. Now, let me make sure I got it highlighted. Again, to anybody who's ever had to replace a Bible, gave a Bible away, or lost it, man, it is an ordeal in and of itself. But grab this real quick. There we go. Amos 3 and 2. Actually, no, we're going to start at 1. Hear this word that the Most High hath spoken against you, O children of Israel. So again, this is a message to the Israelites. So whenever you're pulling out scriptures, especially when you're pulling out scriptures to the heathen, right? Always make sure that they know that this Bible is written to us. Even if you have to preface a scripture with another scripture referring to Israel, preferably in that same book, right? When you look at the writings of Paul, you could usually look toward the beginning, like a First Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians. You can see something in that book that addresses that book to the Israelites. That's one of the things that will solidify your faith more as an Israelite or a practicing Israelite. It's just reading who these books are addressed to, so that you know who salvation is for. You know who these words are aimed at. Because if these words were aimed at everyone, then we have to ask the question: how in the hell are we being punished for not keeping the laws of God? Meanwhile, everyone else supposedly is on the hook to keep the laws, but they don't receive any of the plagues and the punishments. But let's go ahead and read this, right? This is Amos 3:1. Hear this word that the Most High hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family, which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. Now, if you go through Deuteronomy 28, 15 on down, as most of us know, those are the many punishments that we're facing, right? The curses. So the question has to be posed again, right? If everyone is a child of God, why are we the ones being uniquely punished? One of the things that is very difficult to convey to the heathen one of the difficult things to convey to the heathen is that the Most High God deals with us like a father deals with his son, right? So, yeah, let's go ahead and start at 5, right? So this is going to be Hebrews 12:5. Let me make sure I got it in this sword here. All right, cool. Okay, cool. This is Hebrews 12:5. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Most High God, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. So, as his children, obviously, we're going to be chastised. And is that not evident when we look around ourselves, when we see the poverty that we're in, we see the curses that we're under, the evil eye toward one another? Curses like having concrete and iron underneath your feet. Those are all punishments from the Most High God. Right? And further evidence that he's dealing with us. Verse 6, for whom the Most High loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. So one of the things that you could definitely look at in today's world is you could look at the actions of the so-called white man Esau, right? When you look at his actions, not just toward the people, but toward the planet itself, right? Every other day, you could read another story about some type of catastrophe, man-made catastrophe that is taking place, which negatively impacts the life on this planet. Whether it's oil spills, issues with, you know, nuclear waste. I mean, one of the things that they don't actually talk about is the nuclear waste crisis. So, just looking up, is nuclear waste still a problem? And undoubtedly, that's a yes, because nuclear waste is it's hazardous material that will be radioactive for, as far as they know, an indefinite amount of time. Right? They say tens of thousands of years, but to be honest, they don't even understand how long it would take for a you know nuclear waste material made from cadmium, for instance. One second. Waste cadmium. So what we see here is one of the types of nuclear reactors is a cadmium based nuclear rod reactor, right? Where you have these nuclear rods. Um, Basically, as you have nuclear fission going on, it generates heat, and it generates a lot of heat, so much heat to the point where if the rods aren't cooled down, they'll explode. One of the best examples of that is Fukushima, when the cooling mechanisms failed during a massive earthquake, which resulted in a nuclear meltdown, which precipitated into an explosion or a series of explosions. But the nuclear material melted literally through the concrete reactor that it was in, or the containment unit, and it basically went into the ocean. Now, as it was melting down, they were just dumping water on it, and then they were taking that wastewater that becomes irradiated by the nuclear payload, and then dumping it into the ocean. Right? That does untold amounts of damage to the environment, and that's just one example. Now, as we see here, nuclear waste is hazardous for tens of thousands of years. And that's just one instance. That's just one catastrophe, Fukushima. Everybody forgot about Chernobyl, which was in Russia, so that's Esau. But what they don't tell you is all these reactors have close calls, from time to time. And that's just in the realm of nuclear energy. We're not even talking about the disasters that take place from like just pollutants in general, all types of aerosols being sprayed into the atmosphere. But for all the desecration of the earth, where's the punishment on these nations for doing these things? That's because the Most High isn't dealing with them as He deals with us, right? Mm-mm-mm. So, okay, I'm gonna find that later. But what we see here is we see basically the heathen nation seemingly operating with impunity, and because judgment isn't executed speedily, hearts of men fully set to do evil. Right. So Ecclesiastes 8:11, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the hearts of the sons of men is fully set to do evil, are set in them to do evil. Salaki. Right? So we see the nations basically, hell bent on doing what they want to do, executing the whims of their hearts and their desires. Meanwhile, Israel, we're punished every step of the way. But the reason for that is because we're the only nation that the Most High is dealing with. We're the only people that basically get judged as we, commit infractions and transgress God's laws. But the other nations are going to receive their judgment as well, because the Most High is allowing them to fill their cup up until that judgment is finally executed. And when it's executed, it's done without mercy. But let's move on. So we're going to go to Ezekiel 36 and 22. And we're actually going to read a little bit here. So this is going to go into, not only is salvation for, Israel, but the new covenant, because this is going to go a little bit into the trimmings of the new covenant, being for Israel as well. So let me go ahead and grab it real quick here. Yeah, I just saw my wife walking by with my dog. Yeah, she could have stayed in here. I wouldn't have minded at all. But still. So this is going to be Ezekiel 36 and 22. Therefore, say unto the house of Israel, thus saith the Most High God, I do not this for your sakes, O house of Israel, but for mine holy name's sake, which ye have profaned among the heathen, whither ye went. And I will sanctify my great name, which was profaned among the heathen, which ye have profaned in the midst of them. And the heathen shall know that I am the Most High God, saith the Most High God, when I shall be sanctified in you before their eyes. So in the days to come, the Most High is going to be sanctified through our actions. We're actually seeing that now, right? With us going to the highways and the byways, keeping the law, such as what it says in Isaiah 58 and 1, crying aloud and sparing not, lifting up our voice like a trumpet, attempting to reach our people to bring them back to repentance. We are sanctifying ourselves, and as a result, we are sanctifying the Most High God, foremost and primarily, right? Because we're coming out boldly proclaiming that the Most High God is our power and that He's only for us. The covenants, old and new, salvation and adoption, all those things that are written about in Romans 9 are for us. Now, when we do these things, of course, the heathen do not take kindly to that. Just like if you read in Ezra 4, when we basically told them that they had nothing to do with us. Actually, I'm going to grab that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and just grab that on the side here. But let's move on here. Verse 23, and I will sanctify my great name, which was profaned among the heathen, which ye have profaned in the midst of them. And the heathen shall know that I am the Lord, saith the Most High God, when I shall be sanctified in you before their eyes. So I just read that, but I wanted to read it again because the Most High is having to make the statement here that we profaned his name in the sight of the nations. Right? When we break the Most High's laws that he gave to us for our heritage, not only do we sully ourselves, but we sling dirt on the name of the Most High God. And the Most High does not take that idly. Right? 24. For I will take you from among the heathen and gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land. So this is an end time prophecy because this has not happened yet. See, the powers that be, I'm trying to keep it as PG as I can because I don't want this video taken down. But E and his friends um, basically believe that this prophecy was fulfilled in 1948 through the Balfour Declaration, where basically they just got on a couple of trains and buses and planes and moved a bunch of Edomites into Israel, mainly from Poland. But as we know, this is talking about being gathered from all lands, all the lands where which we were scattered. That has never happened, right? And this is further evidence that the people who are over there in that land right now are not the real people. But let's move on. All right. Verse 25. Then I will sprinkle clean water upon you, and ye shall be clean from all your filthiness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you. So our people are still worshiping idols. Still, right? How many people who do, of personally, whoever might be watching this, who's into Kemetic science, right? Um, or Egyptology. That might be a word or a phrase that you're more familiar with. But how many of us know somebody who's in the Christian church, worshiping the wooden cross? That's actually part of the curses. And this is something I do want to get right now because our people have to understand that the Most High basically told us everything that was going to happen to us. So here we are in verse 36, right? And this is one of the curses that our people are falling up under. And one of the things that we're going to have to be cleansed from. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 36. The Most High God shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. We're doing that now. Now, one of the things that you have to question if you believe the people in Israel are the true people of God is, why are some of them atheists? Why are some of them agnostic? Why are some of them of different religions entirely? If they're the people of God, those vices, those abominable behaviors are supposed to be removed from them. They're supposed to be cleansed as of Ezekiel 32 and 25, right? So when it says, then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and ye shall be clean from all your filthiness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you. How in the world are those the people if they're not cleansed? They're still doing these things. But if you look at our people, a people without a nation, right? Or like, I mean, I'm talking mainly about Judah, right? We don't have our own nation. But even if we don't have a nation, or even if we do have a nation, I should say, for the other tribes, we certainly don't run and control them, right? Esau, more times than not, controls those nations as well. And if he's not directly running it, he's pulling the strings of the person who's in charge. So these prophecies that surround the true children of God only fit us when you really look at what's going on in today's world. Verse 26 of Ezekiel 36, or 26 of 36, right? A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you an heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and ye shall keep my judgments and do them. Now that's something that no other nation on the planet is even interested in doing. All right. We're going to look at something in Second Ezra real quick. So this is going to be Second Ezra 3 and 36, because one of the things being said here in Ezekiel is that not only will we be cleansed of our iniquity, our unrighteousness and our iniquities, but we would walk in the Most High statutes and we would keep His commandments. So what we see here in Second Ezra 3 and 36 is it makes the profession that only Israel by name have kept the commandments and the precepts. I'm going to read it. Second Ezra 3 and 36. Thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. That's why it's so important when we're talking about keeping the law, the importance of keeping the Most High God's laws, because it was prophesied that in our captivity we would remember ourselves, and that we would call upon the Most High God and we would return unto Him. Returning unto the Most High God is repenting and changing and keeping His commandments. That's why this prophecy here, it's not only a statement, but it's a prophecy, because for so long we were separated from the knowledge that we were the true Israelites. We were separated from the very idea of keeping the commandments. I personally went to, numerous Christian churches, and I never even heard anything about keeping the commandments. The most I heard about was the 10 commandments, and we didn't even keep those, right? But the importance of keeping the law was never even mentioned. But here we are reading, a book that's granted in the Apocrypha, but reading, an entry out of Second Ezra saying that only Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. So again, I have to ask the question, the people over in Israel, if they're the ones who are going to get salvation, why aren't they keeping these commandments? Right? One of the biggest gay parades on the planet occurs in Tel Aviv. Look at this shit, man. Look at this. But not trying to get dinged for hate speech, right? But this is what's going on in Israel. But these are supposed to be the Most High God's chosen people. These are the people who are supposed to receive salvation. See, that's why it's very important to understand who this book truly is addressed to. Because when you understand that salvation is for Israel, because we truly need to be saved, we need to be redeemed. And when you understand how that salvation is going to be carried out, when you read, books like Isaiah 63 all the way through, and you see the vision of Yahushua basically being drenched in blood coming from Basra, you begin to understand the nature of what salvation really is. And that is the putting down of the wicked. That's why it says Babylon will be thrown down with great violence. If you understand Babylon to be America, and you understand that those running America are the Edomites, then it's not a far stretch to grasp onto all these visions of destruction befalling this wicked nation and the salvation of the Israelites taking place in parallel to it. Because just as this place is being destroyed, we're going to be redeemed. But let's keep going here. So we're going to go ahead and go back to Ezekiel 36, and we're going to stick with it all the way till 35. So we got a ways to go. All right, so let's get back there. And actually, we're going to grab that after this. So where were we at? So we just did 27. All right. Now, Ezekiel 36 and 28 says, "And ye shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and ye shall be my people, and I will be your God." Notice it doesn't say I'm going to be the God of everyone. Even in the kingdom, the Most High God is still only dealing with us. Now, we're going to deal with the other nations, but the Most High God is not dealing with them face to face as he's dealing with Israel. Now, it's arguable that he hasn't dealt with all of Israel face to face, only certain individuals, and that's true. But they were our emissary on the behalf of all the tribes, like Moses when he was dealing face to face with the Most High God. Right? And when I say face to face, I mean speaking directly to one another. But he was doing that on behalf of all the Israelite tribes, every last one of us who fall under the old and new covenant. That's why when you read things like Ezekiel 36 and 28, and you understand who the covenants are for and who the Most High God is dealing with, you begin to look at the other nations differently when they pick up your Bible and they say, "Oh, I'm saved." Because the primary question always comes up: saved from what? But let's move on. "I will also save you from all your uncleanness, and I will call for the corn and will increase it, and lay no famine upon you." So we're going to be fruitful in the kingdom, right? Not just fruitful in body, but fruitful in when we engage in husbandry or farming, right? We're not going to have a shortage of anything: food, wine, fine goods. It's going to be beyond anything that we could possibly imagine. But you have to remember, this is only for God's children. This is who that's addressed to. And it would make sense because what we've gone through, we literally have nothing here. We're eating our defiled bread amongst the Gentiles. I want to look this up while I'm here, right? So we're eating defiled food, and that's putting it lightly, right? There are acceptable levels of insects, rodents, feces in food, right? So let's read this here. But the FDA allows up to 225 insects or insect fragments per 225 grams of macaroni. Now, a gram is not that much, right? That was what, 225 grams? It's not even a half pound of food, y'all. So imagine you had probably about, uh, like maybe about a little bit more than a palm full of rice, right? And you spread it out on the table. And as you sort through it, you counted 225 insect fragments in your food. You would throw it in the garbage. But this is permissible by the FDA. And that's just insects. We're not talking about everything else. 4.5 rodent hairs per 225 grams. Per 100 grams, the FDA allows 10 fly eggs. Now, we wonder why so many people have parasite issues because it's allowed in your food, right? We literally have nothing. And what little we have is defiled. So when we read in the Bible that the Most High God is going to increase our corn and wine, or our corn in this case, and that He'll lay no famine upon us. It's going to be, it's something that we can't even begin to imagine now because we are living in such dire scarcity in this captivity. And even when you do have a seemingly bountiful feast, it's a feast of contaminated food with literal shit and bugs in it, right? Actually, and this is what I also wanted to look up. So the handbook allows for up to 13 fragments. Now, notice they don't define what a fragment is, right? And I don't want to be too graphic, but I, they're not making the distinction between rats and mice. If any of y'all saw that video about that brother who exposed Popeye's chicken when they had those rats that were literally the size of medium-sized cats, is it 13 droppings from that? Because if it is, that's a lot of excrement for only 24 ounces of food. Right? So and you see here it's like maggots, you know, just like if it the more you know about what's going on here in Babylon, the more you hate this place. And the more you realize as an Israelite that you need salvation from this place. That's why it doubled my faith when I learned that Yahweh only came for the Israelites, that he was only concerned about the Israelites, that he only shed his blood for the Israelites. Matthew 27, if you want to get that, right? Where the Israelites exclaim, may his blood be upon us and our children, you know. But let's continue on here because I know I don't got that much time left. I got about 21 more minutes. But Ezekiel 36 and 30. And I will multiply the fruit of the tree and the increase of the field, that ye shall receive no more reproach of famine among the heathen. So we're not going to literally be, led by a carrot, basically a stick with a carrot on it, having to jump through hoops so we can get a bite to eat. The curse of going to our enemies for all things, the one of all things, whether it be food, drink, clothing, housing, that those curses are going to be removed. Again, most of us don't even have the context to understand what it means to receive salvation. Again, it begs the question, what the hell do these people need to be saved from? You can go on YouTube right now and look up farming videos from people in other nations, and it's not somebody from another nation coming in and picking their fruit. It's the people who are of that nation controlling the food and produce within their borders. You can see the enjoyment that they have. I'm not saying it's easy work, but you can see the satisfaction and enjoyment that they have eating the basically the fruits of their labor and enjoying the things that they produce. That's why in the kingdom, man, I know a lot of people say, man, I'm gonna be beating on my Edomites. I'm gonna be doing, man, you're gonna be eating food for the first time and going, damn, this came out of my land. You know, man, this water is clean. Like, you're gonna be amazed at all those things. Those things are going to captivate you. You know, not to mention you're gonna have Yahushai there. You're gonna have the elders, Jacob, Abraham, all those guys to talk to. You know, we're going to have so much to do, but I'm getting sidetracked. Let's try to finish, right? Because I could talk about, you know, my hopes of the kingdom all day. You know, that's what drives me in this, right? But the Most High God is going to multiply the fruit of the tree and the increase of the field, that ye shall receive no more reproach of famine from among the heathen, right? Verse 31, then shall you remember your own evil ways in your doings that were not good, and shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for your iniquities and for your abominations. We're going to see the bountiful blessings that the Most High God's going to put on us, and then we're going to remember all those times where we didn't keep the commandments, all those times that we doubted the Most High and lacked faith, and we're going to be ashamed of ourselves. Even the best of us who try to keep all the commandments to the best of our ability, I mean, our righteousness is as filthy rags to the Most High God. We're going to feel ashamed when we see the things that the Most High God has prepared for us. And he has to reiterate again, it's not for our sake that he is going to redeem us, but it's because he made a promise, right? He made a promise with our forefathers. He made a covenant, and the Most High God is not a man that he should lie, right? Ezekiel 36 and 32, not for your sakes do I this, saith the Most High God. Be it known unto you, be ashamed and confounded for your own ways, O house of Israel. Now again, it's directed to us. We're going to try to get through this a little bit because I got a couple more verses I want to grab. I want to grab that in Ezra 4. Thus saith the Lord God, or thus saith the Most High God, in the day that I shall have cleansed you from all your iniquities, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities, and the waste shall be builded. So Jerusalem's going to be built back up. All of Israel is going to be restored. And it's going to be built by our slaves, because there is going to be slavery in the kingdom. That's why everybody can't be saved, because if everybody could be saved, how in the hell is the kingdom of heaven going to get built up? Verse 34, and the desolate land shall be tilled, whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that passed by. When you look over in Israel right now, what do you see? You see a lot of unused desert land that doesn't seem to be able to grow a damn thing. But that's because the people ain't over there. And the Most High God has allowed that land to lay desolate. Now, believe it or not, that land is also resting, right? One big old Sabbath. So that land is going to be very, very fertile when we're returned to that land. It's going to be glorious, y'all. It's going to be glorious. Ezekiel 36 and 35. And they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden. So we're going to get to see literally the bountiful nature of what the earth can produce on par with the Garden of Eden, or at least like the Garden of Eden, right? And the waste and desolate and ruined cities are become fenced and are inhabited. So it's not going to be an empty place devoid of Israelite presence. Because you got to keep in mind, Most High God don't care about these heathen. I mean, let's be real. It might as well be empty. you know? But I believe that's second Ezra 6, right? Yeah. Where the Basically, the heathen are like spittle to the Most High God. But let's go ahead and get a couple more. All right, I wanted to get Ezra 4 because I want to show that not only is salvation for Israel, but the Most High God is only dealing with us. And once upon a time, we knew that, and we reciprocated that same sentiment. We didn't allow the heathen to join on to us in building onto our God. This is Ezra 4 and 1. Now, when the adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple unto the Most High God of Israel, then they came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers and said unto them, let us build with you, for we seek your God as ye do, and we do sacrifice unto him, since the days of Esarhaddon, king of Assur, which brought us up hither. But Zerubbabel and Jeshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, ye have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our God. God meaning power, so unto our power. But we ourselves together will build unto the most high power of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, hath commanded us. So they told them motherfuckers, kick rocks. Get out of here. You ain't got nothing to do with us. You ain't got nothing to do with our God. Now, this is something that we on the streets who do a little bit of teaching understand. This is the sentiment that you get in return. When you let people know that the Most High God is only for Israel, this is what you get. So after telling them that they had nothing to do to build unto our God, this is what came in response. Then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Judah and troubled them in building. Ain't that what the heathen does? I mean, shit, you be just trying to talk to your brother or your sister out there, and the heathen be sitting there trying to ask questions, insisting that you talk to them, taking away from the lesson. But if you understand that this whole Bible is for you, and once upon a time your people knew that, and it wasn't even a question about who God was dealing with, then it becomes that much easier to withstand the wiles of the devil, the heathen, who are trying to, interrupt the dispensing of the word. It becomes easier to deal with that and just simply ignore them and let them continue on by, or just cut the hell out of them and send them on their way. And depending on your style and your knowledge, right? But let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and go to Isaiah 14 and 13, right? Actually, you know what? We're going to start at 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? Lucifer just means bright morning star. So basically, the you know the nation that has preeminence or authority on the earth. How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. Didn't Esau say that? I'm going to the moon. Oh, now I'm going to Mars. It just, I mean, again, if these people aren't in charge, if Esau ain't in charge, I need somebody to point and tell me who is. But for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. Ain't that weird, huh? North America? That's not related. I will ascend above the height of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. What group of people on the planet are always talking about they God, that God doesn't exist, but basically I'm going to play God? Like, that's Esau. But what we see here is that we're going to be liberated from the sides of the north. Like, man, there's so much in these scriptures that point to this place being Babylon. It points to us as being the Israelites. It points to the Edomites being in charge. All right. Actually, you know what? I don't have to do that. I'm going to grab this real quick because one of the end time prophecies that we have to be familiar with Oh, it's 9. I think it's 9. Hold on. 6 and 9. Yeah, I knew it was somewhere in there. But Second Ezra 6 and 9, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So at the end of this world, right, before it's refreshed, before the real Israelites are returned to their land and the kingdom of heaven is established, somebody in particular is going to be ruling. Now, if Esau is the end of the world, how in the hell is he going to be saved so he can persist into the next world and continue to mess that one up? These are questions that a lot of our people don't ask. And they also don't ask, who is Jacob? And how do you identify Jacob? Right? Now, of course, you identify the Israelites by the curses, right? Because that's part of their very reason for being honest, to serve as a sign of who the Israelites are. But here we have it being pontificated to us, like, very succinctly and straightforward in Second Ezra 6 and 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Right? It's not Moab. It's not Ammon. It's not Esau's cousin over there in Russia, which is just another tribe of Edomites. Right? And again, I'm still confused. If all these people or all these different tribes are vying for control and power of the earth, doesn't that say that they don't need saving? That they're standing up under their own 2 feet? They have a nation, they have sovereignty, they have a means to control the fruit of their production, whereas our people do not have those things. We're exploited at every turn. Hence why we need liberation and salvation. But see, most of our people don't consider. They don't take a moment and read. And as a result, they say things like, well, my white woman can make it to the kingdom because, God loves everyone. Instead of reading where the Most High God states through his prophets very straightforwardly that he hates certain people, that he has, whether it's, the vendetta against Amalek, the vendetta against Esau, the pending judgment for Moab in the book of Jeremiah and Ezekiel. I mean, really, the judgment of the heathen nations is talked about through the mouths of many prophets, right? But how are all these things supposed to come to pass if everyone can be saved? So this is Isaiah 45 and 17. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. So this is sometimes used to cut John 3:16, right? To show that, it's not talking about the world, it's talking about basically a time period, concerning a group of like things. But here it's stated very plainly that Israel shall be saved in the Lord. So we have an account in the Old Testament, we have an account in the New Testament that salvation is only for Israel. Israel is the only group of people being talked about repetitiously that are going to be saved. And yet we have to argue tooth and nail with our people as they try to invite people who don't need saving into our salvation. Like it truly leaves me bewildered sometimes as to what our people truly believe the kingdom of heaven is going to be like. Because it seems like some of our people think that they're going to have a chapter 2 to the madness that's going on in Babylon in the kingdom of heaven. It's just very strange. But let's grab a couple more scriptures and we're going to shut it down, okay? So we grabbed that. I think we jumped the gun because, yeah, I didn't even know I had that on there. So when we see in Revelations 21 and 12, yeah, let's just go to it because I don't have time. So we're going to go ahead and read it out. This is Revelations 21 and 12. And had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. So again, I have to ask the question, right? How in the hell is everybody gonna be saved if the gates to the kingdom have the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel and an angel at each gate, making sure that the people passing through those gates belong to the respective tribe that's written on the gate? Just question. Just question. And then if you go back into Revelations chapter 11, and I'm just going to read it, starting at verse 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. Who worships in there? We'll see, I guess. Revelations 11 and 2. But the court which is without the temple, meaning outside the inner part of the temple, leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. Okay. We're going to go to Blue Letter Bible real quick while we've got a little bit of time. So it says it's given unto the Gentiles. Let's see the word here for Gentiles. Ethnos. A multitude, whether of men or of beasts associated or living together, a company, troop, swarm, a multitude of individuals of the same nature or genus, the human family, a tribe, nation, people group. In the Old Testament, foreign nations not worshiping the true God, pagans, Gentiles. Now, the thing is, and use this term for Gentile Christians. And again, it's funny, like there's all these different meanings for Gentile, but the context here is those who are not the worshipers of God. Those who are the worshipers of God are the Israelites. Because you got to remember, the only people who are going to be saved, the 2/3 are going to be put to death. So anybody who's not worshiping God out of our group, out of our people, they're not going to be around to pose any problems, right? So the only folks who are going to be Gentiles at that point are going to be those who are not of our tribal lineage. They're being left out of the kingdom of heaven. Like these are things, again, if you just read and you beseech the Most High God for understanding, and it being His will, of course, He can provide that to you. Or you could just seek out an elder, right? I mean, most of our people just, I mean, it's just, there is really no excuse now, right? You could beseech the Most High, read the Bible. You could beseech the Most High, and then just go find somebody who is, studied in the Bible, whether they be in person or online. There's so many different ways to get understanding now. But I'm sure y'all can hear those little alarms there. I'm reaching my hour limit. I'll probably put up another lesson before I go to camp tomorrow. But I just wanted to illustrate that salvation is only for Israel. The Most High God is only dealing with Israel. Um, I mean, again, when folks come at you saying that the Gentiles can be saved, and it's just, man, they don't understand that they're attempting to make a liar out of the Most High God and the prophets, right? But I'm gonna go ahead and sign off here, saying, "Call halal Yahweh Bashem Yahushai." That's all praises be unto the Most High God in the name of His Son Yahweh Shai, and Shalom to the Akim and the Akwath, right? Brothers and sisters out there doing the work, staying in the Bible, staying prayed up, and keeping the commandments. All praises to the Most High God. Y'all have a good one, all right? All right, Shalom, y'all. Yeah, buddy.